Hey, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome
good morning
to
to the
lucky number
listeners.
13.
Number 13. Today is the day.
Number 13. We made it. Congratulations, everyone.
Congrats.
Well, welcome everybody to the show. Welcome to Authentic Hustle Live, number 13, Lucky 13.
Amazing.
My name's Colin Harms. I'll do the intro today. I'm one of the hosts here on Authentic Hustle. And on my left is my friend and co-host, Vijayan Swaminathan. Vijay's got quite the, what would I call it, resume. As I become better and better friends with him, and as he sends me messages of how he's changing things in the AI world and adding weekly, I'm like, I guess I was just sleeping the last few days, and he was working. Everything from the Pathfinders podcast, which is amazing. Please tune in, check it out. You'll be glad you did. Very, very informative, and the guests are amazing. And the host is amazing as well. Zadwell and also Conversion AI. And even more recently, and you can touch on that at some point whenever you feel like it, is the new launch you did last week with Char. And then on my right is Kelly Kennedy from the Business Development Podcast. As I was talking to Kelly this morning, they have recorded 233 episodes, creeping up on 250, which is not just us giving them the hand clap, but actually anybody out there in podcast land, that's no easy feat and very, very rare. And in a short time. Like that's not over 10 years.
I wouldn't be here without the support of people who've been with me from the very beginning, one of which who is in the room. Dude, and I feel like I have to comment on this right now because you sent me a message at episode 21 and you didn't know it at the time. But dude, like I think any podcast when it gets to episode 20, like you're struggling with like, do I want to keep doing this? Like you start to realize, I think, what this really means. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of prep. It's not going to be an easy road. And you sent me a message kind of congratulating me, encouraging me, keeping me going. Not only did you do that, you know, by the time I think we hit around episode 50 or 60, you financially stepped up through Hypervac and sponsored the show. And you've been sponsoring us ever since, dude. I didn't realize it at the time, but a podcast cannot make it long term without that kind of financial support. You really need that support to be able to cover the expenses, the advertising, and just frankly give you something to look forward to as you encourage, continue the show. So I have to say, Colin Harms and Hypervac, thank you so much, man. Like, not only have you been an incredible sponsor, you're a great friend, and I appreciate you immensely.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, glad to help and do whatever we can when we can and how we can, and we don't intend to stop. So,
well, who would have thought
anyway
back then, way episode 21, that we would have a show together called Authentic Hustle, 200 episodes later.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's funny. I was at a hockey game last night and my daughter looked at my phone and the background is Authentic Hustle. And she said, when is it, Dad? And I go, well, it's every week. You never told me it's every week. Well, I never thought of inviting my 23-year-old daughter to listen to the Authentic Hustle, but I guess I was wrong.
You know what? This show is for everyone. Why not?
That's right.
Yeah.
It's a family show.
That's right.
Anyway, well, let's talk about today. We our new format is somewhat like a roulette wheel or a slot machine where we hit the one-arm bandit and it gives us three options. But we're thinking today, due to the recent activity in the beautiful country we live in, we have a new leader. And maybe we could talk about that. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I don't think we can avoid it.
What a week it has been. What a week it has been. We cannot ignore the topic. We got to speak about it. So
yeah.
What else are we going to talk about it? Like, I don't know. Like,
yeah, no, I really don't think, I think every once in a while, absolutely, we're just going to have to step up and say, we want to do the roulette wheel. We want to do that for fun. But I think when there's something this important that affects everybody in this room and everybody around the country and frankly, around the world, I think we have to talk to it. And so I think this will be our first kind of ad hoc. We have chosen the topic pre-show. We're going to be chatting about the Canadian election. And honestly, guys, I'm really excited to hear your take on it. We're all Albertan, just so that you know, for our Canadian listeners. So we do have maybe a different take on it or a different feel to it than the other side of the country. And yeah, so take it with a grain of salt, whatever. We're gonna speak our views. We're gonna talk to how we feel about it and maybe what the feeling was in the room and in our province. But we understand that, at the end of the day, that vote was basically a 50-50 split. It's like one of the closest, I think, two-party elections we've ever seen. The NDP were decimated. The Green Party was decimated. There were like no other parties that even got a seat. So it really was a conservative, liberal election that ended up being probably one of the closest elections that I can ever remember. And I think it's really just a gigantic window into what the current political situation in Canada is. And it's, it's very divided.
It's divided that's probably the headline for sure, where it makes it, the outlook into the future makes it that much more unknown as far as one of the platforms is how do we unify the country?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I don't think that happened. And obviously nothing's happened yet.
Yeah.
Right. Outside of the vote. But how do we bring the country together? How do we tear down those provincial borders, that type of thing? It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. The people that I surround myself with, half of them have buried their heads in the sand and haven't taken them out yet. And the other half, I guess, are a little more blue sky like I am. I have no problem saying I was disappointed. I wasn't surprised. But am I disappointed about moving forward? Not at all. Right? Take it with a grain of salt and shift on the fly and do what we have to do. I don't think our days are doomed, but I definitely do think, we're in for change. So,
well, and I want to just pose a question to the people on the live right now. Please do drop us a comment. Let us know, how did this affect you? How did you feel about it? Did you get the result you wanted? Did you get a different result? Right? Please let us know. Let us know. We're in Alberta. I can't say that I'm not disappointed, right? I'm disappointed. It should have been a shoo-in. It should have been, in my mind, a conservative shoo-in. And I don't know where things went wrong. And maybe we can talk about that today. But here's the thing. And it was funny because me and Shelby, Vijay and Colin, we were talking about this that night, or that morning, the morning after. And obviously, it was a little gloomy. People were feeling like, what the hell? Like, how did that even happen? I think mistakes were made on both sides, but I also think, here's the thing, and we talked about this, and we said, well, what if it was reversed? What if we'd gotten a conservative minority? Dude, I think I would have been just as disappointed because neither one of them accomplishes the goal, which is unifying Canada, right? We need to unify Canada east to west, and neither party right now has a platform, I think, that appeals to everyone across the country. Right. And I don't know how we fix that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was thinking deep about this topic. I just couldn't, definitely disappointed. Pierre is a great guy. First of all, congratulations to the new Prime Minister, Mark Carney. Congratulations. But at the same time, I want to dive deep a little bit and share something what is being presented, right? Nothing strange, no conspiracy, just straight facts that we found. Before I dive into that, what I want to also share is Pierre, if there is one thing that he could learn from the conservative side of things, even though he agrees or disagrees with Trump, but there's a lot he could learn from Trump, from the 78-year-old man, right? He was going stop after stop, rally after rally for his age and energy. How old is Pierre, right? I mean, he's probably in his mid-40s or right? Yeah. And for Trump, the kind of energy that he brought in, every dinner he was in, he made $2 to $5 million. He was raising $2 to $5 million in every dinner. That's the kind of money he was raising. And that goes to probably a lot of costs, for the conservative movement and so many other things. I mean, I think he fought a great campaign for the last 3.5, 4 years. No doubt about it. But I think it wasn't enough. It was just not enough. And that's what I think, because I didn't see the kind of one moving speech ever presented to me in the feed, ever. I saw so many of his clips from the parliament, him bashing Trudeau. Great. Kudos to all. He got all the points. But somewhere along the way, I just want to present some facts if you guys don't mind. Whatever I found, good or bad, these are the things that I'm finding. So this, Kelly, you wrote a post recently about the East-West divide.
Yeah. Right.
And this basically is about all the seats that we have from the rest of the provinces. And this is from Ontario, Quebec, and few other eastern provinces. So 231 versus 107. Yeah. Just doesn't cut it. Right. I mean, doesn't make any sense, because the representation here, no, it's just not enough. Right. I mean, that is one statistic I want to present. The other thing I want to present is this. So here you might have seen this chart multiple times, and Pierre was here, right? The blue line is here. I mean, look at how he was topping the charts until January, right? This was right here. This was Trump right here, this is the inauguration in Jan, right? The moment he started bashing Trump more and more, his popularity kept going down and down. I think that was a bad move, according to me. I could be wrong, but his popularity kept going down, and the opposite happened. Of course, there is market manipulation, so many other things with his charts. I agree that. And the other thing that I want to present is the number of ridings, the number of candidates in his riding. I think I saw that close to 91 people.
Yeah,
it was like a meter long.
In his riding. I mean, Jagmeet Singh had only 4. Carney had 5. Pierre had 91. Seriously? Are you guys kidding me?
Yeah.
Doesn't cut it. I mean, on the other hand, I mean, even though she's not a candidate, Danielle Smith, I think she did everything she could. She never said Trump was wrong or anything crazy like that. But she did go and meet with him. She didn't have a word with him. She did have a conversation with him. I never saw Pierre doing that. And I think that could have been a huge mistake. He should have had a conversation with Trump. I mean, publicly, openly, that we have known. So those are some facts that I wanted to present before diving into the conversation.
Well, hindsight is 2020, always, right? I'm sure the whole Pierre, the conservative campaign group is looking back at all the things they could have done differently at this point, right? There's no question in that. But yeah, obviously things could have been done differently. I'm sure they wanted a different result. Let's talk about the fact that Pierre literally lost his seat in his riding, which was pretty unbelievable, right? Like, I don't think anybody could have forecast that he would lose his own seat.
And what does that mean for 20 years?
Who knows?
Right? He's sat in that seat for like 20 years.
Wow.
Right. So when I look at those things, when I look at those things, I think what happened. So you're out there on the street, you're presenting yourself, but you're not taking care of what's at home. Right? They're not believing in you. How can they not be believing in you? And as crazy as the things going south of the border is how things are done and what they're done is, as we said earlier, the Trump card, right, is you need to tell the people what you're going to do to make their lives better. That's all that matters. That's the only thing that matters is you need to convince me my life is going to be better. Yeah. When I put that X on the ballot, that's what's going to happen. Not what you're not going to do, what they're, how they're going to continue to do this. You know what? All I care about is what you're going to do. Yeah. To make my life and my business and the economy and everything around me in this country unified and better. Not do that. And that's in the conversations I'd had leading up to it too. That was my fear. And you know what? I think when I voted for the party, not so much the person. Yeah. Because I had to. Right. Hoping there was a more dynamic person. I think we talked about it before too, as I said, not the mannerisms and not the way things are done on the south side of the border, but they get stuff done. There's action being taken. We can't just roll over. And I don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, who knew Mark Carney before this, right? Yeah, I'd never even heard of him. Right, VJ, I think you might be responsible for him coming to Canada, actually.
Not me. He's a great dude.
You know what? It's a joke. But the way you look at it is when we vote, and my kids are 23 and 25, and just getting into things and starting to understand some things, they want to know, how are you going to make my life better? That's all it is. When you vote on a municipal level for a mayor and for alder or council people, that type of thing, what are you voting for? Make my life better. Yeah. If we dial it back to when you're in high school and you're running for, what do they call those things? Student
valedictorian?
Not even valedictorian, but just a student representative.
Okay.
Take it back to them. That's where we learn these things. And what are you going to do when you give a speech? I am going to make school so much better. Where do we fall off the track and just sit there bashing? Right? Well, like that doesn't win you votes.
Let's talk about Parliament though. I don't know why we allow that, but if you look at Parliament, that's all it is. It's someone puts forward a bill, another person just yells at another person for 20 minutes, and apparently we pay them insane amounts of money to do that.
And a great
I don't
pension.
understand why we allow that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, I think respect should be shown on both sides. Valid arguments and valid points should be given, and a decision should be made, right? But somehow, you know, we've evolved to this place where apparently that's all Parliament's about, is slandering other people publicly. And it's like, well, you couldn't do that outside of the Parliament building. You know, like, someone kick your ass.
No, it's like we put these things in arenas, right? If you assimilate it to sports, it's okay to fist fight in hockey. There's a penalty, right? But if you get too aggressive, there's a larger penalty, maybe a fine. But it's still okay if I punch you in the face.
Yeah.
Right? But if I do that in soccer, the ramifications are different. You can just lay on the ground and act hurt.
Yeah,
right?
Red card.
And if you think about it, we're talking real life here.
Yeah.
Right. So then they go to Parliament and they call each other weird names, right? They have all these weird fish, whatever names. And one of my kids has actually went there and visited and went through the thing and said, Dad, it's ridiculous. Right? They're calling each other names. They're disrespectful. And like you said, one of the things on the World platform, I think we're hearing over and over and over, is these leaders are demanding respect, right? And in different ways, maybe in what you wear, maybe in how you respond to me. Maybe you didn't say thanks. Maybe you didn't say you're welcome. But at the end of the day, they're asking for respect. And that's all I can ask as well, right? I don't think that's out of line. I think that's something maybe we should on a world platform go back to, is in up until, you know, I would say until Trump became president, I think the political aspect of the world wasn't on the back burner, but it wasn't all of the news.
Yeah.
Right. And now with social media and real time news, you know, as it's happening, you know, the Zelensky thing in the White House, as we all saw that live. Right. I think that makes a big change. But I think we need to be very, very aware of how does that change us going forward. Right. If I'm in a meeting, you know, regardless, how do I treat people around me? How do I treat my customers? How do I treat my own family?
Yes.
Maybe it's better if we're on a live screen. Maybe we'll be better people, or maybe we won't be.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
I don't know, man.
And so, yeah, if we're in Alberta, and obviously you look how blue it was, right?
Yep.
And so obviously we come from that. That's who we are. I'm not saying anyone else is wrong, for sure, but is there a better way to do it? Is there a better way? If I'm not going to convince anybody who doesn't have the same political beliefs as me by telling them what they're doing is wrong, right? Or everything I do is right, right? Like that's brainwashing them to become a conservative. That's not going to work. It doesn't work. And vice versa, right? I think, you know, I have to be able to sit. And what I love about the podcast or about meeting new people is learning to sit and shut up.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe listen and learn. That's, you know, we could have that for a topic for a podcast. Listen and learn.
It was kind of funny when we were sitting.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Vijay. When we were sitting at the table chatting, you know, the morning after, we were talking a little bit about Quebec. And I don't know, you know what I mean? I don't know a ton of people from Quebec, but if I had to take a guess, they're a very strong people. I actually believe personally that they're more conservative in their values than they are liberal in their values. Hence why they vote for the Bloc, which I think is actually their own kind of conservative government. Really, if you look at what their policies are, they are more conservative, even though they would never admit it. But the funny thing is that you see Quebec overwhelmingly sweep liberal, like Bloc or liberal. I genuinely think that Quebec, and this is where that East-West divide, this is what I'm talking about here. Even if they are more conservative in their values, they recognize that Conservative Party is more of a Western party, and they're not going to vote conservative because they don't want the West in power. And so people can say there is no East-West divide, but I call bullshit, because I think that a lot of Quebec truly leans more conservative, but they would still rather have a liberal government in power than a conservative government in power because the liberal government caters more towards them. I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if there's an easy way to fix this thing going forward. Obviously, the seat counts. They're people feel a way about them, right? Like, people feel a way about only having what was it, VJ? 107 seats, was it, in Western Canada versus what?
231. I could be wrong, but it's like 107 versus 231. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, right. And it's funny because the last time we had a conversation like this, I got like a lot of messages and comments being like, well, you're just complaining about the East-West divide and it's like, no, man, like it really isn't fair the way that it's set up right now. And that's why you're seeing so much, actually, I don't know, all you have to do is open the internet to see the Western alienation posts everywhere like the day after, right? Yeah. Like, it's not me. This isn't my opinion. This is the opinion of half of a country. I don't know how we're going to fix it, man. I don't know.
The entire campaign of Pierre was about common sense. Well, about the conservative movement, not just Pierre, but about the whole conservative. It's about applying common sense. Yeah. Right. Somewhere I saw someone comment like Canada is probably center left. Maybe that's why Pierre didn't win. I don't know. If you cannot really understand common sense, like what has happened in the last decade, in the last 10 years, in terms of like, Jory even put up a great clip the other day. Colin. He spoke about growth comparing Canada versus US. US had 20% growth in the last 20+% growth in the last 10 years, whereas Canada had like 0.5% of growth. That is a huge indicator of economic progress in the last 10 years. And there's out and out. There's so many other metrics that we can come up with, right? So many other things in terms of policy making, financial planning, and like education, so many sectors, right? We can keep talking about it. Yeah. But if we have not learned and applied our common sense and made a decision, I don't think people would have like gone again for a red vote again. My friend, he lives in Windsor, Ontario. He tells me it's always liberal. He said it's been a very liberal city. It turned blue this time around, right? That is a win. A lot of there's a good conversion. I think the message has reached people. Yeah. Maybe it was not enough. There is a lot of like good messages that the conservative movement came up with. Maybe it was not strong enough. That's what it makes me think.
I want to go over to the comments because actually people are piping up on this one, guys. Our first comment is from Rodney Lover, and he says, "Hey guys, I'm in Ontario, small city. The challenges seem to be more metros versus small cities, towns, and rural, left-leaning versus conservatives. I really chalk it up to the NDP voters swinging, and Pierre did very well, even in light of the mass media propping up the liberal message. What's your take on that? I actually agree, right? Like, there wasn't a lot of great messaging for Pierre.
For Pierre, he had the opportunity. Patrick Bet-David asked him to go on 10 different podcasts. He named the podcast, right? Yeah. He literally named it. He had an opportunity to go talk to Rogan, Tucker Carlson, so many other people, right? It is a missed opportunity. People watch news from podcasts these days, right? Not so much from CBCs and CTVs. And so I think that's a missed opportunity, big time.
Yeah, absolutely. Next message we got was from Tyson Hunt, and Tyson says, I have an idea. It is what it is. I have an is what it is attitude. Just like weather forecasts and market forecasts, we can sit around and predict and analyze things till we're blue in the face. I fully understand the impact on Canada with this one, especially on Alberta. However, our time and energy can be better spent focused on sustainable growth of each of our own individual businesses. Focus on the road, not the ditch. I love that, Tyson. That is incredible. Me and Colin were actually having that conversation not that long ago where I was like, okay, look, it doesn't really matter. And even in my podcast yesterday, I was trying to motivate people at the end of the day. I started it by acknowledging the election. And then I kind of went into, at the end of the day, what matters. What matters is your well-being, your family, your business, your town. We have to focus on what matters, and we have to move forward no matter what. Tyson, I absolutely love that. Guys, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, I just wrote down the focus on the road, not the ditch. Yeah. Tyson, I'm going to steal that. That's fantastic.
I love that. That's a great message. Yeah, I really do. That was really good, Tyson. Absolutely. VJ, do you got anything you want to add on that one?
No, I think it's perfect. I love that quote, like focus on the ditch, not on the road. Focus on the road, not on the ditch. So yeah, absolutely love it. We have to look at the long-term picture as well in terms of like where we're headed. It's not the be all end all at all for Canada, that being said, and for Alberta as well. So I think he's a new person and there'll be new opportunities to negotiate as well. But at the same time, not willing to compromise or like there are certain values that we don't have to be compromised off, right? I think we can stand firm on our ground, and these are strong values to pay attention to.
Absolutely. Yeah. Rodney was saying too here that Pierre lost his secretary of a lot of government workers, with the Conservatives saying that they would cut government workers, right? So he kind of mentioned at that point it was a pretty tough audience to try to win that back. And he said, I don't discourage him for his loss, truthfully. And then he said, look how many ballots Conservatives got, which was over 8 million, which I think is actually a record. So yeah, it was, he makes an interesting point.
It's 100% true too, as if you look on the south side of the border, or south of us anyway, had the platform been Doge and we're going to eliminate hundreds of thousands of federal workers, no different, they wouldn't have got that vote.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They wouldn't have. And nobody saw that coming. They just saw a golden age or whatever it would be. I think if the vision was cast on this side of, not to reuse that term, but a golden age for Canada, right, of unity and economic prosperity, that type of thing, who would not vote for that? Honestly, it wouldn't really matter. I wouldn't even look if that was, if somebody took the time to actually put that platform forward and that was ingrained in my mind, of course I'm going to vote for that. I'm speaking for myself, but how could I not? That's what I want. And for me and for my kids and for the generations to come.
That's it, right? Like at the end of the day, we have to remember, what do people vote for? They vote for them. They vote for their kids, right? And it's like, as much as I love the rest of our country, I'm always going to vote for what's right for my family, my friends, my province, and my kids. And I think everybody's kind of making those same decisions. But, you made a point earlier, Colin, that's where politics needs to go, right? Like people need to stop bashing each other and start really backing their policies. What are my policies? Let's talk about the fact that every single government didn't release their platform until like 2 days or 3 days before the election. That didn't give people any time to make any rational decisions or even look, for the most part. I
had a conversation with a person this morning. I think he's 82. And I said, one thing I should invest in is razor blades. And he said, well, why is that? I said, well, because all these people with that F. Trudeau stupid decal on their back window of their vehicle can take it off now. Right?
Wrap it up, guys. We got one last comment here from Nate Simpson, and he mentioned that proportional representation promised and then ditched by the JT government, Justin Trudeau, perhaps something to push for to resolve this challenge with regards to the seats not making any sense. And he mentioned that maybe that could contribute to fixing Western alienation.
Yeah, I just want to give one closing thought on this whole thing. A lot has been said always about Trump is being a bully. He's threatening us with 51 state tariffs. And yes, absolutely. All are true. All of the statements are true. But look at what he's doing. Look at what he's doing with Doge. Look at what Elon is doing. Actually, I think a lot of news that people actually consume is from the mainstream media, the NBCs and CNNs and whatnot. And they are not the best friends of Trump or Elon, guys. I think this guy is one of the greatest inventor, Elon, and Trump. He's already proved he doesn't have to do this. Get this right. He doesn't have to do this. He's proved his expertise in real estate. He's proved his expertise already in media with apprentice and so many other things. And they call him the trifecta of things. And this is the third thing. Politics, he has proved himself out again. it's already a success. He could probably sit on a beach and probably relax with his grandkids. He just doesn't have to do that. He's not even taking a salary. Why is he doing that? He just said, make America great. Yeah. Such a simple statement. A politician from Europe, I think Poland, I could be wrong with the country. He went back to his country, said that make Poland great again, right? It's such a simple statement. And the best we got was probably Canada is not for sale. I think Duckford or someone said that. I saw that on his cap. But I think come on, why can't you go have a conversation? I think Trump is the person who would have a conversation with you, except Daniel Smith. I didn't see anyone going and having that conversation. So kudos to her and all this. And I think she did the right things. At least I felt that. Yeah.
I don't know. I think before we wrap up today, I think we do have to talk briefly. I know we're at time, but I want to give it just another minute here. I don't know, guys. A lot of the stuff that I'm seeing now on social media, things like that, they're shifting towards what do we do now, right? And you're seeing that a lot on the West side, where it's nobody in the West wants 4 more years of a liberal government. I can tell you that right now. I don't think I'm offside by saying that. I think if you go west of Manitoba, aside from maybe small parts of British Columbia, nobody wants 4 years of another liberal government. And so I'm seeing a lot of people saying, what's next? Give us hope. I genuinely think that Canada could potentially be at risk.
Here's something too, before we go, just what's on my mind is I hear a lot of backlash on, the new prime minister has no political background. Trump really had no political background before he got in, on and on and on and on. Maybe that's not such a bad thing.
No kidding.
Because if you had 20 years in your riding and you lost your seat, I guess it's you, right? And I'm not being negative. I guess it's you. I mean, if you were the NDP leader and you lost the entire party, I guess it's you. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's time for something new. Maybe new people step into the arena. Maybe that's why history has repeated itself in the wrong way, is we continue to expect different results, right? What do they call that? Insanity. Do the same thing over and over and over, elect the same politicians and expect a different result.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe this is the change we need. And I don't know Carney. He hasn't had an opportunity, and I'm conservative, and I'm saying that. Yep. But maybe it's time we have new people step into the arena, and maybe we'll see some change.
Yeah. So I couldn't agree more. I think at the end of the day, we need something different. We need unity. Like, at the end of the day, this conversation kind of went in a different way. We were talking about how there's a lot of people in the West that don't like this situation. But once again, a job of a prime minister is to unify the country. It's not to serve half, it's to serve 100%. And so I think if we can get a prime minister, if Carney's up to the task, he needs to step up and he needs to serve 100% of the country, not just the 50% that voted for him, but the 50% that are now very disappointed and hoping for hope, right? Everyone on this side of the country, we're not just angry. We want good lives. And we are not getting good lives under a Liberal government. Carney can change that.
All right, fellas. Well, time.
Great chat. Yeah. See you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Later, hustlers.
All right.
Bye-bye.